Hi everyone, we're waiting for everyone to pop on. I am recording this so people can watch later, but we'll be making some Christmas cards using watercolor today, and we might be able to do more than this, hopefully. We'll see. So you just need any kind of watercolor, water, paper towel, and paintbrush. And then watercolor paper, and I have some different kind of forms. I have these like little 4x6 cards that I can later glue on to some half-page cardstock to kind of have a nice little edge. And then I have some that are just paper. So my class isn't going to start for a few more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and mute and wait, but you probably zoom ahead to the 8-minute mark, if you are watching this later. I just realized I've been mute this whole time. I've been trying to say, hey, Kathy. You look like, for a minute there, you look like you were in San Francisco. There you go. Now it's kind of it's trying to green screen you there. Hi, Pat. Kathy, I can't hear you. I'm starting to hear something for a second there.
Can you hear me? I'm only on the screen. It looks like.
I can hear Pat. I just see a red screen, which that's okay. I don't have to see you as long as you can see me.
That's right. Gotcha.
Kathy, I don't think I can hear you. I've seen your mouth moving, sort of.
I'm talking and she's visual.
I know, but her thing is not muted, so I don't know what's going on. Can you see me okay, Pat?
Yes. Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay. We had a few others supposed to join, and I forgot to send them the link until like an hour ago. Kathy was one of them. So I'm going to give it a few minutes. Hopefully people will have set it on their calendar and remembered on their own to check their email. But if not, we'll get started here in a minute. I finally figured out how to record it. So that way if people can't get on, I can just send them the link. So
did you record last week? I didn't get last week.
No, I didn't figure it out until this week. All this is new to me too. So if I ever do that class again and record it, I'll make sure I send it to you, okay?
Okay.
I want to make sure Kathy can hear me before I start. She doesn't have her video on. So when we do get started here in a few minutes, and it might just be you two tonight, and then again, I can send it to whoever didn't get it. I just like to have a little more participants because you can give feedback. Okay. Oh, Kathy got off. She said, I can hear you. Okay, good. All right. As long as you can hear me, Kathy, we're good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. What you need tonight is some sort of thicker paper. I'm using watercolor paper, and I've just chopped it down to 4x6. You can fold it. You can do a 5x7. I'm not going to be picky. This is kind of scrap that I had. You can even do like a square size. And then I had found these in our create room, and they're little just like half cardstocks that I thought, you know, if you just have the postcard size that you could glue on to the cards. And you can do that later. You don't have to do that now. I just kind of wanted to give you guys some ideas on how to go about finishing this off. I've even have some of this like brown kind of craft paper that I had bought my boys, just like cardstock, and that looks really good with everything. It's neutral, so if you want to buy something, you can, but you don't have to. You can just use the white. So I'm hoping to get at least 3 cards done today, and we'll kind of go off of with the ideas of this, but I might switch it up a little bit. So you'll also need a pencil because we will do some drawing. And if you have some sort of like waterproof pen, like Sharpie, that really helps. That's what I use. There's also like some other ballpoint waterproof pen. Or you just wait until it totally dries and you don't have to worry about it running. Because we're going to be adding details after it dries. So, oh, and then I did this little gnome while I was waiting for people to join. So we might add him to the mix because he's so cute. Sorry, I'm getting junk calls and this is one of the glitches I need to figure out is how to just like not have phone calls interrupting me. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. Pat just fell off, Kathy. So I'm going to give her a second to get back on before I start anything, but I am going to flip my camera around. So I think I'm just going to gotta figure out how to do this in my video. It's always a trick getting this set up of my workspace. So I have this great little clip. So I might have to move. Sometimes I just get it set up and then Pat, did you get back on?
You froze and I just got back on.
Yeah, don't get off if I freeze, because if a phone call comes to my personal phone here, which I can't control, it'll pause me. So don't jump off. Just hold on tight and I will be back on as soon as I can. Okay?
Yep, you're on now.
Yeah. So I hadn't gone over everything. I was waiting for you to get back on. So I'm going to use these like praying watercolors. If you just have like a 1 palette one, that's fine. Or if you have whatever you want, actually, I might just use this because I don't think I'm going to need, I'll show y'all how to mix some colors and stuff because I think that's what most everyone has. So, and I've got paper towels here, trying to get my workspace set up so y'all can see just fine. And then I have 2 different paintbrush sizes. If you just have one, that should be fine. Watercolor is pretty forgiving. So I'm trying to find the right size. So I'm going to start with these smaller kind of rectangle rather than square pieces. I might change it up. Like I said, I'm not going to be picky. It's more of just how to learn how to do it today. And of course you can repeat. And again, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and kind of watch it. All right. So the first one we're going to start with is kind of the first layer of this. So watercolor, we do a lot of layering. So you kind of have to do a layer, let it dry. But that's the good thing about being able to do 4 pieces is you kind of can constantly be working while you're waiting for the others to dry. So I'm going to use my medium-sized paintbrush. It's kind of on the smaller side, I should say. And I'm going to mix up, and I say mix up, I'm going to get some yellow and mix it up with some water. And if there's a little green in there, I'm not going to worry. I didn't clean my palette out too well. You can always add, but I'm going to get it pretty watered down and then add some yellow. And this is really just kind of eyeing it. You just want a nice liquidy yellow. Okay. You want to make enough that you have a puddle. You guys can see that puddle on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to kind of dot my paintbrush and do some longer strokes. And just actually, I'm going to do a little line down the middle so I have a little guideline. And again, it's dotted. Make it a little thicker at the bottom. Can you guys see that okay? I might have to get my camera closer. Here we go. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing better. So this always, whenever I change the height, it takes a minute to adjust it so it's not like falling on me and I have room to paint. Okay, so this is going to be kind of my little trunk, which we'll probably not even see by the time we're all done. And then going from the top, I'm going to kind of press my paintbrush down and I can paint all different directions. I'm kind of haphazardly doing some little dots. If I need to get more paint, I can. And I want to get kind of wider out. So it's, going from the center out both ways. And I'm just getting a lot. And it's okay to have more yellow than you think. Okay. There's my little trunk. It's So it doesn't take a lot to kind of get the shape of your tree down. And I might kind of put some random little touches on it just to make it look like it's a little fuller. Because we'll fill those in with some other colors later. Okay. And that's really our first color. So I know I kind of do that fast. I've painted a lot of these trees. So if someone could holler when they're caught up or done, that way I have a good idea of pacing because I can't see what you guys are doing. So it's tricky as a teacher to be able to do that. I'm going to try to set this up so I don't have to hold it with my hand all the whole time. It's a challenge in its own self. Sorry, that's the, might not be so lucky. Sorry, my phone is so heavy. It likes to fall on me. So I'm trying to avoid that. All right. Here we go. Bear with me while I'm adjusting this. What did I just do? Okay. Should help. It's hard to get it not too far away and not too close. All right, there we go. That's better. Now I can actually work. Now you can see I dropped well, actually you can't see. I dropped a little bit of water on there. I'm not worrying about that. So this is kind of how much paint I have on it. So I'm going to set that aside and let it dry a little bit. How are you doing with that, Pat?
Okay, that looks good.
Okay. And so the next one I'm going to start on is this Deck the Halls with the holly on it. And so this is going to be a little bit of drawing. And so we're going to start in the corner of your piece of card, whatever that might look like. You okay, Pat?
Yes, I got you.
Okay. And we're going to draw 3 little holly berries. And I'm going to draw mine a little dark. Try to draw yours light. And I'm just kind of circling it until I get the right circular shape. It really does not have to be perfect. Draw lightly if you can. If not, you can always, after it dries, erase your pencil marks somewhat, or just go over them with the Sharpie. So I have 3 little cherries. I say cherries, holly berries. And then I'm going to draw the spiky leaves, and I'm going to make them really loopy. And I'm not going to worry too much if they're perfectly proportioned. They're supposed to be a little wild. And I'm going to show you the sample again. They're supposed to be a little wild, and I did not do a great job painting those. I had a rough paintbrush. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of arc it around, almost like a C. And it's going to loop. And then I'm going to arc it in again. And I'm going to loop up to the top. And this is going to be our top point. So I'm going to head back down and loop it upwards. And then down. And then I'm going to connect it. And it's not perfect. I'm probably doing a little bit wild there. The great thing about pencils, you could always go back and adjust. So if I wanted to erase where it started, I can. So there's my first leaf. And then my second one's going to come out towards this way. And it's going to have to be a little bit smaller. Am I going at a good pace for you all?
Yes, it's working good for me.
Okay. And you just holler if you need me to slow down. And so I'm going to loop up there, loop again. And this one, I'm not going to loop at the top because I'm going to add a little curlicue later. I'm not going to do it just yet. And then I'm going to loop it back towards again. And then I can come back and add my little curl. Then I'm going to just put the kind of center line down those.
Okay, I lost you for some reason. Joe Furman.
So,
just joined you?
oh yeah, that's okay. So Pat, are you on your phone or your computer?
Computer.
Okay, so I think there should be a button that says gallery view that you should be able to join. Okay. Hi, Jay. Welcome, welcome. The first card we did was just some yellow watercolor going back and forth on the tree. And I'll kind of go over that again if you want to wait. And right now we're just drawing some holly. So I started with 3 little holly berries. And then I kind of loop-de-looped this leaf. And it can be very loose going around. And then we're going to add some more little sprigs coming out here just to kind of fill it. And I'm not going to be able to make mine as big because I've got to have room for my words. But I'm just going to have some little random greenery. And it's just lines with pretty much like ovals on either side to make little leaves. And again, I'll kind of show you my sample. So that's what I just added to it. Okay, and then I should have plenty of room to write my words. Which we can add that later. I want to focus on the painting right now. So when you, Pat, since I can only hear you, when you get yours drawn, just tell me yay or done so I know to move on.
I'm drawing.
You're done drawing?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the first coat of paint for these, and I'm going to use my medium-sized paintbrush here. I'm going to go back to that yellow I mixed up for the first card. And if I need to add more paint and more water to it because it's dried up or it's not going to be enough, I can. And I'm just going to fill in the leaves with that yellow. Okay. And we're going to do a little bit of wet onto wet painting here. So we want to kind of just layer in that yellow, and it should be fairly translucent. You know, just tinted water. And I'm going to paint the other one too. And I'm not going to paint these leaves yet. I'm going to wait until I get it a little bit darker. Okay. And while it's still kind of wet, I'm going to add some green to my yellow puddle. And so now it's more of a yellowy green. And I think I just lost Pat. And I'm going to touch some yellow in here. And Jay, I think your name's actually Jane. You can go, I'm actually recording this, so I'm going to send it out to everyone who pre-registered after the fact. So you can always go back and watch the first part if you need to. So I'm going to touch, and I'm going to leave a little bit of that yellow showing. And actually with this color, hi Pat. I'm going to go ahead and touch into add some color to those other foliage leaves. And I kind of like it to pool a little bit because it'll create different drying techniques. On this one, I got a little bit of too much water. I don't know if it'll ever dry before this class is over. So I can always dry my paintbrush off, kind of soak up some of that color and water just so it doesn't have as long to dry. So you can start to see it has some dimension since we've added the 2 colors. And I'm going to add a little more green to my puddle. Maybe not even, here we go. And I'm not going to fill it in as much, but I am going to add some around the edges. Oops, I got my little berry, but that's okay. So I'm kind of just scattering it around, and the water that's already there, we'll spread it out. And actually, I'm going to go down the middle too. Which, in hindsight, I may not should have drawn down that middle line. I could have just painted it after the fact, but it's there, so I'm going with it. Might just end up being a darker blue later. And I think I'm going to move to a little bit of a smaller paintbrush if you have one. You guys might have started with a smaller paintbrush, but I'm having trouble kind of controlling the water on that one. So I'm moving to my next size. And I'm going to add a little bit of that green I had just mixed in to the edges of these, and even go up the center line. Really just a little touch on each leaf. You don't have to paint over the whole thing because you kind of want the previous layered color to show. And it just adds that dimension. So I'm kind of, it can be random, or you can kind of do it in the same spot on every one. Not really outlining them, but some areas I am. And then with my smaller paintbrush, I can also go ahead and kind of start going around where I drew in pencil. And if you notice, I hold my paintbrush just how I hold a pencil. I mean, it's whatever you're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong way. This is just how I do it. When I paint bigger areas of things, I hold my paintbrush a lot further back to be a little looser. Sometimes you shake. I'm shaking. Just part of the fun. When you're doing little details, it's a lot easier to shake. And again, we're doing more of a wet on wet. It creates a much looser feel to our holly. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue to darken up my green while it's still wet. And it's not going to darken, it's almost going to make it like a teal. And I'm using Prang. If you have other watercolors, you can kind of use whatever green you feel like. I'm going to go down my middle. Might need a little more blue. Sometimes I could just even use direct blue on it. And since I have my small paintbrush, I'm just going to kind of go and touch little areas. And you can kind of see I'm a little sporadic where I go. I don't really focus on one area too long. And I'm not worried if there's some white showing. Again, I'm just kind of overlapping some colors. I'm not painting anything solid at this point because I just want to create a dimension within my little leaves. You could get really wild with it and have some lines showing, but you don't have to. Okay. And if you like that color, but you don't want it to be as bold, you can always water it down a little bit. Even dry your paintbrush off if it gets to be too much. And do a little bit of, smoothing it out. You can even just do a clean, wet paintbrush. I kind of messed up there. I made it too liney. And clean it up. So watercolor is very forgiving. If you kind of overpaint, like say I got a little bit on my paper, you can actually just wet it down and blot it up with a paper towel. Not all colors do that. Now reds are a little less forgiving. Purples, oh my gosh. I accidentally had purple watercolor on an eraser for a project I was doing and had it all drawn out perfectly. And the first thing I did was erase the pencil marks, and that purple was all over my paper. I had to start over. I was not happy. So you can see I dropped a little water on here and it's a little too much. And what happens is it starts to spread out. And this is a little bit to do with the fact that I'm kind of using student grade paints. So I could always blot that up, and you can see it's leaving some white. So I might have to go back and add a little color, maybe even go back and add a little yellow to it, just to blend it in. But I'm not too worried about it. All right. So while our leaves are drying, I'm going to mix up a little bit of orange. Whoop. And this orange is not great. So I could even do yellow and red, like more yellow, tiny touch of red, and it might come out better. For whatever reason, the orange on these palettes just are not a great combination. So I'm kind of mixing my own up. Can you guys see that? And I'm just going to get it really light. I'm going to paint the whole berry. Got a little too much paint with it. I can even leave like a little bit of white spot showing, which I didn't really get that where I wanted it, but it is what it is. So I'm going to leave another little white, and that's going to be like my highlight of my berry. And so I'm kind of painting all around, and again, leaving a little highlight. You can see, because typically you don't paint with white on watercolor. So berries aren't orange, so we got to add a little more red to our orange. And what I'm going to do is kind of creep that around the edges. And hopefully it'll still be a little wet, so it'll kind of draw it into the middle. And this is going to start to make it look less like a circle and more like a round berry. And I can even go back if I need to and get the red and the orange to kind of blend together. So I want to leave some of that highlight showing, even though it's more of an orange. That's just going to be part of that reflection. So you can kind of see up close how those are starting to take form on. And then I'll just actually get pretty pure red without much water, because there's already a lot of water on that berry. And just kind of take it around the edges. And I'm not trying to leave an outline. I have to add a little more water to that. I'm not trying to leave an outline, just kind of create a kind of a shadow on the back edge of those. Mine aren't super consistent, so it is what it is. And then the painting part of that is pretty much complete. Well, so we'll let that dry and move on to our next one. Normally I don't do them all that, that I usually kind of go back and forth, but this one needed a little more quick movement. So I think I'm going to come back to this one. If y'all are ready, and Pat, just tell me when you're ready.
Which doesn't look anything like yours, but I'm ready to try the tree now.
Okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to look like mine. And remember, this is your first time doing it. I've actually painted this card 3 times now. So just practice, okay?
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right. So now I'm going to go back to the tree. And sometimes, between things, you might want to clean out your palette. But since we're kind of staying into the Christmas colory colors, what I can do is I can kind of re-wet my green that I had mixed up, and maybe just go back and add a little yellow to it. So it's kind of light again. That way I don't have to waste any. The great thing about watercolors, if you're adding the right amounts of water to it and kind of making your own puddles, not within your watercolor palette, it will last forever. Okay, so I'm back to my bigger brush. I've mixed me up a nice transparent green, and I'm starting at the top again, and I'm going to pick kind of the top underneath, so that the highlight is the yellow, okay? And I'm just going to kind of tap in, and it doesn't have to be a solid color, but you can kind of see I'm just dotting, and I'm letting the watercolor be watercolor. So once my brush kind of gets dry, I can go back and get some more. So I'm just kind of going, that started to get a little bit too clear through. And this is going to be a pretty abstract Christmas tree. It's not going to have, you know, you don't have to have all the details perfectly. I'm going to add a little bit of green in this. I don't love the way my chunk turned out. I might have to add brown to that later. And so you can kind of start to see how it's building up. We'll add a darker blue, kind of similar to how we did the holly after, but you can see the yellow coming through, and you can kind of see that this is starting to make, I might add, I like adding little kind of random unattached branches. I don't know why, maybe even a few at the top. And if you hold it, it drips, so you can kind of re-drip it back. But there's, we'll set that aside to let it dry for a minute or two. I'm going to go ahead and find me my next paper. And the next card we're going to work on is this kind of Christmas tree ornament one. It's like a zoom in, and you can, you know, make your branch bigger and just do one ornament, or, you know, make it come across more and just do one ornament hanging down. I've seen some really lovely kind of samples online. You could, you know, if you do that, I would turn your card long ways and have it hanging down, which I might do. I might do just for a little different. That way you can always have it. So if you start to see it pull in a certain way, you can always go back and kind of wiggle your card around. All right. I'm not going to pre-draw this one with, actually I am. I'm going to pre-draw it with some pencil. I'm going to draw a little spruce branch coming out here, about 3/4 of the way across. It's going to have a little twig hanging off of it. And I'm not going to draw the little tiny pine needles off of it. I'll paint those, but I just kind of wanted the structure. And then I think I'm going to have my ornament kind of coming down this way. And you can draw it whatever shape you want. I'm going to draw mine like a little sphere. Hopefully, I can always add some more if you guys kind of wanted to see. I might do 2. Normally I like to do things in 3s, but I might not have enough room, or I could always extend that out or something. I don't know. I might add. Everything turns out different all the time. So this one I'm going to end a little higher. And it's going to be more one of those oblong, if that's even the right word, ornaments. So it kind of goes out and it almost has like a flat edge and then curves down. One of those classical ornaments. You can always add like a little bow at the top for some fun interest. And this one's going to have a little area that we get to rotate colors in. This one will probably just be a solid. I feel like I need something else. I don't know. I might add another one. Like I said, things are good in 3s. So this one might be another weird, funky, like more like a, oops, I hit my camera stand. Wrong one. I don't know. If you have more room, you might want to spread that out. I'm just trying to kind of keep, or maybe I'll make this one smaller. That's why it's good to draw it out in pencil first. Don't be afraid if you can't draw a perfect circle to find like a bottle cap and trace one. Kind of looking around going, where's the bottle cap? Oh yeah, that looks a little better. So I made mine. If you want to stick with one, that's fine too. I just thought since my sample had 3, probably while I'm teaching, I should probably teach all 3. Okay, so I'm going to get a smaller paintbrush. I wish I could remember the sizes of these. This is a size 2 paintbrush. If you want to look up sizing. And we sell these at Chestnut Creek School of the Arts. So we sell them in packs of these, I think. They're my favorite. I have so many on hand. They last forever. They're great for kids. And you can use them for acrylic and oil and watercolor. All right, so back to my branch. I'm not going to draw. I am going to paint a line. Sorry. I was trying to think of how I did it. I'm going to go back to my yellow. I always like to start off with a yellow when I'm doing greens and greens, because if you mess up, it's a lot easier to cover yellow than like a dark green or blue. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a nice straight, not straight, it doesn't have to be super straight, just a nice smooth, I should say, line. And I'm going to go ahead, so I painted over those lines, and I'm going to start from the left since I'm right-handed and go right to add my branches. So really I'm just kind of touching and lifting up. So I'm kind of touching at the base of the branch and lifting up, and I'm spacing these out pretty even. I'm trying to stay a little bit thinner. They don't have to be all the same size. It can be a little longer, a little shorter. As I get to the tip of the branch, though, I do want it to be a little smaller, like the. And coming back, I'm trying not to go directly across. We'll add layers. And guess what? With this, if you mess it up, you can always paint more. Paint more layers. So our first layer is going to look pretty scraggly, right? We're just trying to get a layer of pine needle or whatever kind of spruce tree this is, spruce needles down. Again, little ones at the very tip. And they can overlap. So I'm trying to get all my branches a layer of yellow pine needles. I'm kind of fluffing those up. And you can do this wet onto wet, but I think I'm going to let mine dry and come back to that. But with my little yellow, I think I'm going to add a little highlight on to where I'm going to paint some green. So on the right side of my ornaments, I'm going to make this ornament red. But these two are going to be mostly green. This one's going to have a little red branch. This one I might add some red polka dots too. Or something. Spots. I don't know. They're pretty abstract. So I'm just trying to add a little touch while I have the color on my brush of paint. Okay. How are y'all doing? Good? All right. Are you ready for me to go back to the tree?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Kathy. I think I just saw your chat pop up. All right. So I'm going to go back to my bigger paintbrush for this. This is a size 8 paintbrush, I think, which a size 6 would be good too. Either one. Actually, I think I've been using a 6. I wish I'd been using my 6 if I had been. All right, and I'm going to mix my blue and green to make that darker green color, a blue-green color. And I'm just kind of going off of this because this is the palette we're using. If you have like a Prussian blue, which is like a dark navy blue, you can do that. Don't add black to make your colors darker. Try to stick within the color wheel and go that way. And it's easier to start off lighter with watercolor. That's why I start off with yellow rather than like a light green, is because then by the time I get to blue, everything looks right. So again, I'm going to kind of go under this green color, and I don't need a lot of this blue, and I can always go back and add more green, but I'm doing this right now where it is still a little wet. So I do get some wet on the wet. But it doesn't take much. You can, as you get down the tree, you kind of probably want to do a little bit bigger blobs or dabs, because you know, it's going to have more shadows down there. Oop, I feel like I can't hold my paintbrush with this. Maybe on one side, I don't know, kind of going a little crazy. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get these trees right. Redrawing my, really not happy with my trunk. So you're just kind of trying to get the essence of this tree. Okay. I don't know what happened over here, but I'm going with it. Might just add some little ticks on this side to balance that out. Make it go up a little bit. Looks like it was on purpose. So this can dry. You have pretty much the base of your tree. While this is a little bit wet, I might get a little brown with my smaller paintbrush, or you could even do red as a kind of the brown red. And what it'll do is it'll kind of mix in. Like just, I don't want to do a straight line through there, but just a little touch kind of gives it the feel of, you know, actually is connected to something. You don't have to do that. I kind of wanted to. I feel like I needed some connection. So now I'll let that dry. Actually, while it's still wet, I might get a little bit of just blue and purple and water it down. I wish I had if you have a good black, maybe even a little black in there. Oh, mine's okay. And I'm just gonna add a little kind of ground, and it's okay if it blends in. That's actually pretty good. Now I'll just get more water to paint on it directly. So it's just a subtle kind of differentiation between the ground and the sky. Almost looks like snow. We can call it snow. We can choose whether to add presents to that later or not. Honestly, I don't love how my presents turned out. They're just kind of blobs of squares. So they were supposed to be pretty loose presents, and that's how they turned out. So this will dry. We can come back to this ornament one now. I'm excited. I think we're gonna have time to do the gnome. And you can kind of see this one's all getting all dry. I like how that one dried out. Watercolor is fun because if it's still wet, when you kind of finish it and walk away, when you come back, it's going to have a different appeal than it did when you first started. I got some white paint on my desk. Get that off. So coming back to this one, I'm going to go back to my little paintbrush, and I'm going to just get some pure green. Kind of make a little puddle. If it touches something else, like a little bit of yellow or something, I'm not too worried about it. Sometimes I might add a little yellow in there. Just green, it's pretty out of the tube looking. And again, I'm just gonna kind of go, and I'm pretty much ignoring my first layer of yellow pine needles. I don't really want to be exact like a ruler here and measure out them. So I'm gonna kind of haphazardly. And this is the main color, so we can even put more of these on here. But again, I'm pushing down and kind of lifting up and out. It's almost like how you would paint eyelashes on a human painting, on a portrait. So just kind of coming out, and I can add a little bit more than the yellow because we want it to read as green and not yellow. Well, we're going to add some blues in there. Green really is our main color. So you don't really want to paint directly over your yellows, but you don't want to paint directly in between them either. So I'm just kind of pretending like they're not there. And If they covered a little bit of it, I'm not worried. If they don't, I'm not worried. I'm just kind of going until I feel like I have enough green on there. You know, and you can make some longer. You can water your paint down a little bit and even get, you know, multiple layers. Oh, I just stuck my elbow in my tree. It's okay, it survived. And I'm going to start putting that green too on kind of the left edge of this. It's pretty watered, mine is pretty watered down. Could leave some white showing. It doesn't have to totally rub, maybe even on the very outer edge there. Might even go back and add a little yellow, kind of connect, just blotting it on the ornaments to kind of give it a shiny feel. And while that's drying, just like how we did, sorry, I thought I felt something by my foot, but it was just my cord. While we're waiting on this to dry, we're going to do very similar, kind of like how we did our berries. So like a yellowy orange to start with. I'm just going to kind of and again, I've kind of discovered my orange wasn't great. So I'm just going to make my own orange with yellow and red, basic color mixing here. And I'm going to water it down again, and I'm going to kind of pick a highlight. I'm going to go right here, give it a little crescent moon. And then I can kind of fill in around that. To get my first layer on while it's still wet. I'm going to add a little red to that. I'm really kind of just touching it in because I want this to look like those shiny ornaments. And then I'm going to do the directly from the palette here. As long as you can get some on your paintbrush. Get up around there. Even do some kind of, not stripes, but little touches of color, and it'll spread out. I'll kind of create a nice whimsical ornament. Hopefully. I'll look that up. And again, I'm going to let this dry. If I need to go back and add more to it, I can. Like I'm thinking that I can even go back and add some more red later. And you could do this with any color. Like if you're doing purple, just water down your purple a lot. You know, paint it, then use a little more purple pigment. Things like that. Well, I don't really, I was going to do the tops of my ornaments, but I really don't want black to bleed into them. So I'm going to wait until it's dry to do the tops. Usually black is kind of a last color you want to add to things. And I usually avoid black in all types of painting. Unless, you know, it's like to darken a color. But usually I try to do that with other colors just because it can really kill. Oh, I should have, while my color is still wet, I'm going to add, whoop, as I just whack. Can y'all see? I don't know what just happened. Just knocked my phone. Add a little bit of that same concept of, I can even add a little more white, a little more white there. Doesn't take a lot. Just kind of pull in that red. I'm not outlining it. I'm just kind of doing little touches here and there. So it has that glassy ornament look. Well, I got my paintbrush, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little more to here. Because why not? Just trying to go around with the curve of the ornament. Again, you can make it a little darker if you want. I tend to go light. Okay. Sorry, my seating arrangement is weird. Okay. How we doing? Am I doing an okay pace?
Yep.
All right. So now I'm going to add the darker blue-green to my spruce leaves. And then this one will almost be done because I think I might just come back with a Sharpie pen and do the details rather than trying to paint that super thin line. I think a Sharpie pen will make it look pretty cool. All right. So I am doing the same thing again, ignoring the previous paint strokes and just adding that blue. And this one, again, it doesn't need to be as much as the green, but just kind of eye it. And of course, if you like that color a little bit more, maybe add a little more to it. Once you kind of get the stroke down, it's a little easier. And so while we kind of let this dry in between layers, I think on this one, I kind of did more of a wet on wet. I didn't use the same color palette, so the colors are a little different, but you can kind of see they blended in and made other colors. So it's just a matter of how kind of tight and defined you want the lines versus how loose and whimsical you want them. So I'm going to let that one dry. And I think we have time for our gnome. I'm so excited. So I'm going to pull, and I'm actually going to, because I don't know what other people are using, I'm going to do a card with this one. So it's folded. And this is a different trick. Part of the reason why I like chopping these up and gluing them later is because, you know, watercolor is wet. So when you have a card opening up, it is a little trickier. That one's not, I didn't fold that one very good. It's a little trickier to, you know, make sure your paint's not running. So we'll see how this goes. All right, I'm going to draw this and out for you all. And you kind of want to think of basic shapes. So a triangle, it's got a little kind of curvy, another triangle added to the end. Circle, upside down triangle for the beard that is a little shaggy. You know, half a rectangle underneath, and our little swoopy feet. And then these are going to be like little ovals. So if you break things down into shapes, it's not as intimidating to draw. So I kind of started with the hat by thinking of it as a triangle. And you can kind of make it as long and wide or skinny and tall. This one's going to be a little wider than my first one, I think. So that just means I need to make my top a little, come together a little quicker because I'm going to run out of space. So, you know, you can kind of see the triangle shape, and then it's got another triangle shape here. And then it's going to kind of go up and down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Because if I need to kind of smooth things out, I can. It's the beauty of pencils. You could even draw like a little jingle bell on here later, or poof ball, kind of like that. I need to add that to my other one. So triangle, and I kind of just extended it with a line, did an upside down triangle at the end, and then figured out how to connect it. Gnomes are supposed to be a little funky. All right, and then his little nose, it can be a circle or an oval. I'm gonna make mine a little circle. And then his beard, again, like I said, if you're kind of thinking of a triangle, I just made him a little shaggier. So he has a beard. Super sketchy. And then his body, kind of just come around, and rather than going straight across, I kind of round him out. And then he needs some little arms. Almost, they don't have to be perfect either. If you're intimidated by the elf shoes, you could always just do like little regular feet. And actually, you might just want to start off with that and then add the swirls on the end. I might add little puff balls to those too. Cutest little guy or girl. I don't know. I guess you could add little cheeks to him. So the fun thing about this is, you know, you don't even have to paint this. You could color with marker and Sharpie and stuff. We're obviously going to paint them tonight, but all right. Pat, are you good or do you need some more time to draw?
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay. So I'm going to paint his little nose first, and I'm going to try to get by mixing yellow and a touch of red, I'm going to make kind of an orangey color, but I'm going to add a lot of water. The key is to add a lot of water to it. If you have a test strip, you know, spare, you can always test it. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty dark, so I need to add more water to that. I mean, you can add water after the fact, but just kind of like how we did our little berries, I'm going to leave a little crescent that's white, so he has a little shiny nose, and it's going to make it look round. And then I'm going to add, I mean, this is so similar to our berries. Add a little bit more red and yellow to it, more orange, I should say. And just kind of keep adding it until it kind of gets that sphere look. If you get it, and it's okay because it's cold in the winter for these little gnomes, so you can add a little bit of red, make it a little pink. But it doesn't have to go very dark. And I'm going to hold this up because I know it's kind of far away for such a little detail. But just tiny touches like that, I mean, it didn't take much time, but it's going to make it look round, you know, more 3D than if you just color it solid. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my slightly bigger paintbrush. Which if your palette came with the paintbrush, my guess is it's probably this size 6. I'm going to get my red and water, and I might need to clean my palette out actually, because for some reason I have a little black in there. So you take a paper towel. To clean your palettes out, you just dip your paper towel in water, and you just kind of dry it out. I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 little areas just so I have some space, which, you know, growing up, I didn't realize that's what you're supposed to use. Even as a teacher before, I don't even remember when I learned how to do it. This was recently. I was like, oh, you could use this part to paint with, to mix your colors rather than like ruining the actual wells. All right, so I'm going to use this pure red. I'm just going to mix it up. And my red, when it dries, I will say, turns pink, which I'm okay with. So I'm going to fill this in nice and smooth. And I want it pretty wet. So more water than not, because we are going to do some wet into wet here to kind of get it. Gnomes are just a whimsical character, so we got to have a little looseness in our watercolors for this guy. So I'm going to paint his hat. I'm not going to paint his beard. I want his little hat to come down. I'm going to paint his little, so I'm going to kind of be very careful and intentional to leave his little beard and go under, because that's going to define, this pink is actually what defines where his beard is. After I kind of go up in those edges, I can fill in the rest. I'm going to leave his shoes. We'll paint those like blue or black or something. I am going to put the very tips of his hands. Pink. Just for fun. You could always do this in blue or purple or green. But I like the way this guy turned up. So, while it's still wet, I'm going to mix up a little red and a tiny bit of purple in my palette. You can always add more purple later. But I'm going to add that. I even need a little more red. Add that to the edges, the corners, kind of the tip here at the, might even just get some more pure red, purple. And so I'm just kind of adding little areas. That might be too much. If you get too much, you can dry your paintbrush off and kind of blend it in. So if I kind of went a little overboard, which is, when it dries, it won't be. And so I'm just kind of touching little areas with this color and leaving some of that original pink. Down here kind of dried faster because it wasn't as wet, and I'm okay with that. But I am going to go in with a little bit of that purple color. Give him some. So I can always, you know, add water after the fact to kind of blend it if it dried out on me too quick. And I'm gonna, I feel like mine's a little more of a highlight on here. So I just tore off a tiny piece of paper towel and blotted it where I needed to. And then I'm gonna mix some purple and black and maybe even blue. I might have to change to my smaller paintbrush. Oops, getting a little crazy here. And I'll paint my little shoes. To hold this down. I'm just kind of filling in with that purpley black. I might go back and get some more black and blue and just touch the underside of them so they look a little 3D. And then I'm actually going to add that same color down here or up here on their arms. Make it look like a little vest or something. I don't know. Just add a little more visual fluidity. And then I'm really gonna get light, like almost just painting with water with a tiny touch of blue, or even if you have like a good gray. For some reason, when I add water just to my pure black, it has this greenish tint to it. So I like to kind of cut that with blue. So it's not a true gray, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to streak some of that gray or blue gray through my little gnome's beard. And if you get it too dark, it's okay. Just add some water, wash, dry your paintbrush off, add some water to your brush. So you just have a watered brush. And I'm actually going to go over this because the beard is supposed to be white. And so by kind of painting over that, you'll get the hint of a texture without it being too much. I just had to do a little bit around the edges. Okay. And with that same kind of almost clear paintbrush, you can add some outlines to your fluff balls if you chose to do this. And that pencil can get erased after it's all dry. You don't want to erase it until it's all dry. But then you've got your little gnome. Oh, and you can add some snow on the ground here. just some water. And leave some paper showing if you kind of just scatter it through. Okay. Cute little gnome. All right. So here's mine kind of up close. Are you laughing at mine, Pat?
No, I'm laughing at mine.
You're going to have to send me pictures of yours.
His beard looks like it's raining.
Oh. Remember, you can take a paper towel if you feel like you got too much and kind of blot, get some water and blot it up. It doesn't take a lot. I mean, and honestly, mine kind of looks like it's raining too. So you might be on the right track there. I'm going to get my Sharpie pen. And again, if since this one's dry, I think I had dirt on my hand. I can kind of go over and add some little details to it. So I'm going to go around, and I'm not worrying about going exactly around where I painted. In fact, I'm almost ignoring it and just kind of, it's like a loose, it's just to add a little definition to it. And again, same here. I'm not worried about whether I'm exactly on those lines or not. In fact, I almost like to be a little off-centered sometimes because it adds a little more interest. So I am trying to be steady. Sometimes that doesn't work with me. So this just, like I said, it just kind of defines it. If you're going to write something like Deck the Halls, which I'm going to write, and normally I do this in pencil first and then outline it. So if you're new at hand lettering, make sure you do it in pencil first. But I'm pretty comfortable, so I'm going to do my D, and I'm going to go E, C, okay. And I always like to go back and kind of thicken up my lines. And you can make it really dark or not dark at all. So I make the downstrokes thicker. I think I need to go back. Okay. So deck, and then I'm going to write the in just capital letters. And then Halls, I'm going to do in cursive again. Just kind of squeeze it in where I can. You don't have to draw it just like mine. You can do it all in print, or you don't have to write anything. You can write something else. But once it all dries, and you really, even Sharpies need a minute to dry. You can kind of go through if you have any pencil marks showing. And then it might not get them all. I won't worry too much about it. There's many watercolor artists that never even go back and erase their pencils. Just part of their design. But if there's something glaring, I like to go back and clean it up. Look at my little E. I didn't go over the same line. I'm going to have to thicken that up. That was not good. It's a problem with these little small cards. They don't stay in place when you're drawing on them. All right. So that one's done, and I can always pick out, a little fun card to glue it down on. you know, a little half sheet of cardstock to kind of frame it. So it looks really nice. And I just use normal Elmer school glue, and you don't need a lot. I mean, you could glue it down with hot glue. You know, I would just do a little bit. There's not much on there. And you just kind of need to hold it down for 10 seconds. Or put the glue bottle on it so it stays put. So then on this one, we'll add our little details. Make sure it's dry. I got my little string, little bow. You can outline your ornaments. I don't think I'm going to. I think my only little black is going to be this string. And you can always paint that part. I just chose not to because my hand's kind of shaky tonight. I don't know if I just didn't have enough caffeine or sleep or what, but I'm not going to risk it. The paint, make it look all shaky. Since I am not going to go around my lines, I am going to kind of erase my out of line sketches. I'm trying to avoid where marker is. Just gentle, doesn't take a lot. You know, and this could have a little small Merry Christmas down here or something like that if you wanted to add, or save it for the inside. But number 2's done. And again, just, you know, you could pick out a fun little background color. 2, glue down. I might even would punch a hole down here and tie a little like twine ribbon in there or something. That would be cute. All right. I'm not going to glue that. All right. So coming back to this one, because we haven't really kind of finished this one. In my original, I had some ornaments, and that's up to you. I've seen this with like gold paint, and that's really pretty. I'm going to assume y'all don't, and you could do it with acrylic gold paint. There are some watercolor gold paints. But I think I'm just going to go with my red again. You can do different colors if you want it to be bright and colorful. You don't have to. But really, you just kind of use a tiny paintbrush and add some little circles here and there. You can do some small ones, some big ones. You can have some of them have highlights. Just paint right over wherever. And I chose red just because it kind of screams Christmas, right? With against the green tree. You could even just splatter paint on there. Mine kind of warped down here, so I'm going to try to fix that a little bit. Like that was a little more of a splatter than I wanted. That was just from too much water. And black, like again, black does some weird things, so I'm just going to have to overpaint that a little bit. If you want to add a present, I'm just going to make mine really light. I'm just going to have one little present down here. Little box. Little bow. You go on the ground. Oops, forgot it. That was wet. Thought it had dried. It's got a shadow in there. Can even add a little more red in there. The ribbon bow. Since that's leaking so much, I'm gonna might have to go back and add more gray. And add a little star at the top. On this one, I added after the fact some black, but I don't think I'm gonna do it for this one. This tree turned out a little better than my first one. So I'm probably just gonna leave it like that. You know, gold would be pretty touch to this, I think. I might add some gold later on. If I can find my gold paint. But other than that, number 3 is done. So yay. One, two. Got to figure out which one's my 1, 2, 3, 4. We did 4, right? Okay, and I'm not gonna add anything to my gnome. I'm happy with him. I might go through and erase. Unless you guys think of a cute punny saying that I could add on to them. I don't know what I could say. And you know, we have a few more minutes till this is over, and I think I want to do just a little simple, kind of like a branch with some berries on it, because I think this will be cute. And it's something that you could do quickly if you forgot someone. I'll use my little square. And I'm going to use my smallest paintbrush, and I'm going to mix black. And if you have brown, the other way is you can make your own brown with like red and green. I'm going to use some of the red and green. Well, it depends. Nicer colors you can do brown with red and green. These student grades might not be so great. And so what I'm going to do, and this is going to be very simple, and it's really just because we have a few extra minutes. I'm trying to find the right side of the card. I want to do, and this is where I hold the back of my paintbrush rather than close up, is I'm going to do some fun little branches. And so I'm barely touching at the end. That's the key here, is to have a very light stroke. It's okay if it even skips. And so I'm just kind of drawing some little branches. I don't know what this would be called. Just like they'll have berries on them. I'm just stroking, just like using like pretty much one hair of my paintbrush to paint. Going out. And as they get out further, just thinner. As they come in, they can be a little thicker.
You're not working. She's finishing it.
So you can have some overlap, maybe. Just depends on how many you want. So I think this is going to be enough for me. Okay. And again, this is recorded, so if I'm moving a little faster at the end, you can go back and watch it, I'm pretty sure. I hope this is the first time I'm recording, so fingers crossed. So now I'm going to mix red, and you can do it kind of like how the berries you did it before, but I'm trying to get it. Pretty much I'm not going to worry about if it's got a little highlight or not. This is going to be super simple. And I'm just going to do some little circles all around. They can overlap. They can be small. They can be a little bigger. You don't want them giant. They're pretty tiny in general. But you don't have to do them just at the tips of where there's a branch ending. You can do them kind of on top of the branch. I'm leaving white in mine, but I don't mean to be. You know, you can do kind of a bunch of them in an area and then spread some out. And you can kind of see this is really creating a cute little simple but pretty peaceful card. So I like this one. Put some on the main branch, maybe. Like to do some different sizes, even on the ends, do some bigger ones, maybe. And there you go. So you've got a pretty little berry branch happening. You can write your little Merry Christmas or thank you or Happy Holidays. I think I'm going to do a little Happy Holidays. And my handwriting. So I'm going to write holidays in my cursive that I do. Oh, I hope I can fit it. I have to get a little small here. Oops. And I'll thicken it later. There we go. And then happy. Do that kind of small. So there it is. And again, this could go on like a little red card, a little square card. That'd be cute. I could even chop that off a little bit and make it a little more even. So it's just a little neat, simple way, quick and easy, but relaxing way to do some holiday cards. And just with very little supplies. And you could even paint, you don't even have to have a Sharpie. You could paint this if you've got a steady hand. Words. So, our next class next week is going to be another Christmas in July class. It is a holiday wreath. I know some of you have already signed up for it, which is awesome. So I hope you can join us. I'll kind of teach you different techniques, and then you'll be able to kind of create your own wreath. It'll be similar supplies. You just need a bigger piece of paper, at least probably a 6x6. I would recommend an 8x8 or 10x10 or even a 12x12 piece of watercolor paper. So if you have like a 9x12 cardstock that you want to use, that's fine too. Just cut it down to 9x9. But thank you on here. We'll put all our cards out. If you guys did this, please take a picture and share it on social media or email me, and then I can share it so we can get some more people in our virtual classes. But thank you all for joining us. Here's all of the samples. Not quite glued together. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Did we do 5 cards? Yeah, we did do 5 cards. I was like, what did we do? Need more room. So I'll kind of take pictures of mine and share them, and you guys tag me. My personal account, Instagram account, is House of Jacksons and Facebook. So you're welcome to share that with me too. Or
I can send it to your phone.
Yeah, well, I would just email it, Pat.
Okay.
To amy@chestnutcreekarts.org.
No, I don't know how to photograph them and put it on my computer so I can send it. But I can photograph it on my phone and send it from my phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll email you my phone number then.
Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Kathy, I see you now. I don't think I can hear you yet, though. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to go. Oh, that's so cute, Kathy. Look at that. I knew you would love that one. I saw that and I was like, I have to do it. Sorry, I thought I was on my face. Oh, don't look at my hair, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining. Pat, I'm glad you finally got to join us.
How can I see it on tape? I mean,
I think after this, I'll be able to email you guys the recording. Like if you registered for the class, I'm going to email it to everyone. Okay?
Very good. Yes. Thank you.
All right. And hopefully it works. No promises yet. Okay?
Did good. Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Bye. Kathy, send me your samples.